evening to hang out with us and to share your voices. We want to maintain the tone of respect and working together that the grannies have set for us already today. We're going to talk about some tough things because we're living in hard times. And I want to invite anyone who has anything they'd like to share. We will be recording this. David has kindly donated his time. He is a professional videographer, like he's got a degree in it. So we will be capturing your questions to be used later in social media and just so that we can actually communicate with our representative since he's not here. It's got a good ring, yeah. If you are not comfortable coming up to the microphone, we've got other options for you. You can write your concerns down on paper. There are pads out in the lobby area. You can do a cameo with David later when we're all done here. If you just want it to be video, but you don't want it to be in front of everyone, he's happy to stick around and do that. And there's always the virtual town hall option that our fearless leader, Julie, has set up for us. If you're not familiar with Tony Weid's record.com, it is a website that keeps track, it's accountability, and it keeps track of his votes and what they mean to us. And there is an option to upload either sharing comments or even a video to that site.
Would you repeat the site?
TonyWeidsRecord.com. I'll have it pinned on my social media as well for easy access. And my social media is Dr. Kristen Lyerly on all the social media things. So, on all the things. So having said that, I am so honored to be standing by these incredible people. We've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. We were in Shawano. Julie and I were in Shawano a couple weeks ago. The people of Shawano pulled together an event like this and they invited us to come and talk, and that was really part of the inspiration for being here tonight. They wanted to talk about immigration. They certainly wanted to talk about the economy. They wanted to talk about healthcare. There were so many things that I didn't anticipate that the people were concerned about. And what we decided at the end of that meeting was that we were going to keep meeting because we were making community connections. And even though we knew that help wasn't coming from Washington, D.C., we know our community. And we know how we help each other out. So we can share your thoughts and your words. There's not a lot we can do because we're not elected. But we can band together. We can help you find resources. And I think there's something beautiful and incredibly valuable in that. Having said that, I'm going to turn the mic over to my dear friend Julie Hancock, and I'll let you introduce yourself. You want this mic?
Hi. Does that work? Yeah. My name is Julie Hancock. For those, is this feedback? Is there feedback?
Please step to the front.
Okay. All right, we're good. My name is Julie Hancock. For those who don't know me, I am an immigration attorney here in De Pere. I've been practicing immigration law for about 8 years now. I started during the first Trump administration, so I'm very well versed in his policies. And in addition to that, I have just recently been elected as the Congressional District Democrats Chair. I'm looking forward to hearing what you all have on your minds and what we can offer as far as, I mean, we're not Tony Weid obviously, but we would really love to get this to him and hopefully have him understand like that his presence is needed. And even if any one of us didn't actually vote for him, he still represents us in Washington and we deserve to have our voices heard. So I will hand it over to Mark Becker and let him introduce himself.
Thank God you're not another 20. One weed's enough.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Good to see you. So
So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm new here. I'm new to the party. I was the Republican chairman of the Brown County Republican Party many, many years ago. Yeah, one of them. Just one of them. So I actually left the party back in the rise of the first Trump era. I was in that room when Charlie Sykes and Jerry Bader and some of the legislators did the whole never Trump thing. And I guess it stuck for some of us, and for some of us it didn't. And so I spent the next, time since then, speaking out against the policies that he's had. And I got pissed off enough, and hey, I'm now a member of the Oconto County Democratic Party. And so, it's I have a radio show on the Civic Media Network called The Rational Revolution. Welcome Dr. Kristen Lyerly, where she has her Dr. Kristen Lyerly show.
In a desperate attempt to stay relevant.
And yes, a desperate attempt to stay relevant. Yes. So I'm really honored to be here. Holy crap, what a crowd! This is amazing. So, what's on your mind, everyone?
Yeah, come on up.
Come on up.
Come on up. Come on up. Come on
I
up.
hear that Oconto County's got a really lot of young people joining a party.
Well, I sure hope they do. Yeah, it's. Maybe I'm young, maybe I'm not, but it's been cool.
You're not.
I'm not. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good evening. Sorry, I have a little bit of a speech prepared. My name is David Badillo. I'm a disabled veteran from Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. I served this country with distinction for 6 years as a vehicle operator and convoy driver in the United States Air Force, from June 1st, 2005 to May 31st, 2011. I didn't receive my disability rating until 2 years ago, after a decade of fighting through the VA red tape arbitrarily placed there by over 30 years of underfunding and budget cuts under both Democratic and Republican administrations. These past 2 years of treatment and compensation have saved my life. I'm finally starting to move forward and live my life at the 39 years of age. And now, some unelected South African billionaire ketamine addict is illegally slashing my hard-fought and earned benefits and the care that apparently you, congressmen, are too cowardly, callow, and lazy to stop. All so he can give himself and other foreign multinational corporations another $1 trillion tax break. When what we need at the VA is more investment in hiring to process claims and have better care. And the same goes for Medicare and Social Security. Why have you not stood up as our advocate in Congress to speak out against these illegal, immoral, and illicit actions by an outside pseudo-agency with no oversight and no security clearance? You are our representative, the people of the 8th Congressional District of Wisconsin, not Elon's and not some business, the people. So I guess my greater question for you, Congressman Weid, is, are you stupid, corrupt, incompetent, impotent, or all of the above?
I think the answers to those questions is yes.
All of the above.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity. I worked for the ADRC of Brown County for 25 years. I'm retired now. So I've been advocating for elders and persons with disability all those 25 years, and I continue now. And what I'm worried about, first of all, HUD has been cut, and so many other services that are safety nets for our people here. Cutting HUD means that homeless shelters are going to have to scramble for other funding. Housing vouchers have been frozen. So let's just pile that on for people who need those kinds of services and see what their lives are going to be like and what are we going to do about it, Representative Weid. So the energy assistance has been cut. You're not going to be able to heat your home. Food share, frozen. Where are we going to feed your kids or feed yourself? The USDA has been frozen, so pantry shelves are going to be reducing, can't even go to the pantry. School breakfast and lunch programs, kids are going to be hungry at school. Medicaid, I am really afraid about, because that means and I asked Representative Weid when he was in town to please go visit either the CP Center, Curative Rehabilitation, or Aspiro. So maybe you don't know how much these people need, us and others, to do things like get out of bed, bathe, eat, toilet, lead a dignified life. So, and people in nursing homes, where will they go? So my question is, where are people going to go? How are they going to eat? And how are you going to fill this gap?
We're gonna die.
They don't care.
They do not care.
So, please, get a heart. You've lost your soul. And think of us, just for once.
I've asked that question to him at his office several times.
So I have a question. I have 100 questions. I'm a Cold War vet. I am DEI. I am queer. I am a female. And underneath this current administration, I don't have a right to serve. My question to this administration and everybody complicit in it is what gives these people the right who have never signed their name on that dotted line to give their life for this country to try and deport immigrants that have served this country, who are suffering from PTSD, who have been in this country since they were 4 years old? And why aren't more people standing up and screaming about this? And why aren't our representatives standing up and screaming about this for our veterans?
Right.
We have an obligation in this country to each other.
Yes.
And that obligation is a very weighty one to our veterans.
Yes.
I was kicked out of the military because I'm queer. I served 3 years, 11 months, and 27 days on a 4-year contract. We got to do better.
Yes. Absolutely.
My question is, what kind of chicken shits are we that we cannot support some of this stuff that's going on?
Afternoon, folks. I am a constituent from the Appleton area. Now, normally on a Friday evening, I'm in my basement playing video games and winding from a long work day. But I felt this was of utmost importance to attend. And now that I have the opportunity to speak, it's of utmost importance that I do speak.
Thank you.
Of course. So there are a lot of things I could express my ire about this administration, about Representative Weid, but I'm going to keep it to the stuff that affects me directly. First of all, I am neurodiverse. I am a level 1 autistic, and I rely heavily on antidepressants to be able to function in my day-to-day life. And I've been on them since 4th grade, and they work great. But thanks to this administration, they're looking at getting rid of a lot of pharmaceuticals, and mine might even be on the chopping block. RFK Jr. himself thinks people on SSRI are addicts, and he's also floated the idea of putting us all on wellness farms to recover. Now, leaving aside the fact that you stole that from a movie, I don't like that. I don't like the sound of that at all. And now Donald's talking about, oh, I'm going to tear pharmaceuticals. Stay tuned for that. And so that's another angle I could get off chocolate. Like, even if RFK Jr. goes and gets distracted, and what does Tony Weid do? He votes for Donald to keep his tariff authority, which he shouldn't even have in the first place. And one other big thing that affects me, my partner is transgender, and my sibling is transgender. I grew up with my siblings since I was 4 years old, and they moved away from Appleton because they do not feel safe in this state. They're in Seattle now, and they're doing the best they can, but I really don't like that my sibling felt the need to leave. So, Tony Weid, all I've got to say to you is I don't trust you. I don't trust your face. I don't trust the way you're pointing like that. I do not trust you to make Wisconsin a safe place for the people I love. I mean, half my friend circle is transgender, and they are a blessing on my life. They have made it colorful.
Yes.
They're amazing people, and it was my understanding that late 20th century America, the ethos was, mind your business, let people live their lives, it doesn't affect you. So what changed? Well, that's all I have to say. Fix your soul. Everyone in the Republican Party, fix your souls.
They have no soul.
My name is Don. I'm from Green Bay. I really hadn't planned on speaking, but not speaking isn't an option. A little background, about 18 years ago I came out as transgender. A few years into that journey we discovered I'm actually intersex, chimeric twin, literally fraternal twins of different sexes that fused in utero. So yeah, I mean, this really exists. It's nobody's fantasy. It's not a political agenda I'm trying to push. Now, thankfully, between the VA and Badger Care, I was able to get medical care for this. But I would regard as life-saving care. I have made a very profound suicide attempt over this before, early on. Being here today. I served in the medical corps, the Army Medical Corps as a behavioral science specialist. Today I find myself feeling the times I have been drafted and pressed back into service. People around me are freaked out. We've got people talking about, deporting people who are legally here and in process, but actually deporting citizens. How the hell does this make any goddamn sense, much less serve the purpose of this nation's government? Amongst the purposes that actually are spelled out in the preamble of the Constitution are to ensure domestic tranquility, and you keep turning up the goddamn heat. Gotta knock this shit off.
My name is Mark Fleury. I'm a resident of Pier. I just turned 81 years old. I never thought I'd live to see the day that this would come down in this country. I do see a few other people here with a few gray hairs. Did you ever think you'd come to this? We got people getting snatched off the streets. We got a Gestapo, they're called ICE. We need to do something about it. I can make some suggestions, but I don't want to go to jail today, so how about something like this? How about start doing, if you want to hit these people where it hurts, it's, you know where it is?
Pocket.
Right there in the wallet, that's where you hit them. Let's start boycotting some of these people that ain't working for us. Like Walmart and the oil companies. They had a thing, I don't know how far it went, but like just have a day, 1 day, 2 days, a month, whatever. Don't go buy gas, don't go buy anything. Just stay home that day. Do you know how much that weirded them people out? That's what we need to do, hurt them where it hurts. Start thinking of ways to get in there. Good.
My name is Gloria. I also go by Garnet because I'm non-binary. And one of the reasons why I continued to go by Gloria and continue to keep this name that doesn't fit me and that doesn't feel right is because I know that they want to take away my right to vote. And I know that if I change my name, I can lose my right to vote. And Tony fucking Weid voted to take away our rights to vote. Anybody that's changed their name, even for marriage, would have to go through additional hoops to be able to vote. That just isn't right. We can't let them take our votes from us. And like that's sitting on the Senate floor now because the House passed it because of people like fucking Tony Weid. And I deserve, as a person who has worked since I was 14 years old, to be able to vote in the country where I pay taxes. I think a lot of us are aware of that SAVE Act and about how it affects married women, which, yeah, absolutely. But also, we need to be extra aware of how it affects people like trans people, that I have to continue to use a name that doesn't work because I know that that's what they're going after because I read Project 2025 when they first floated it. And when they floated it the other time, thank you Heritage Foundation. So we have to pay attention, but we also have to make sure that we are calling out those that are going to be more drastically affected. You know, a lot of people that live in two-income households that are married, they can maybe float the cost for those extra documents. But a lot of people that are trans, non-binary, as a non-binary person, I don't even exist in this country, apparently. So I really want to make sure that we are aware that that is taking away the trans right to vote, because they're also not wanting to issue trans documents for passports, and that's one of the requirements, is a passport. And so they are really locking that down, and they're trying to trap us here and take our votes and still take our taxes. And you know, the last time that we had taxation without representation, I don't remember that going very well. So I just, fuck you, Tony Weid, for trying to take my vote.
My name's Alicia Saunders, for those of you that don't know. I'm a United States Navy veteran. I deployed toward aboard the USS Harry S. Truman in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2005. And like a lot of vets, I carry those years with me every single day. Now, I know Congressman Weid isn't here today. I wish he was. Because this is something he needs to hear from people who have actually lived it, not from a press release, and not from a policy advisor. The Trump administration wants to cut 25% of the VA's employees. 80,000 people. That's not trimming fat. That's taking a system that's already stretched thin and ripping out the support beams. And behind that push, Doge, Elon Musk's so-called efficiency task force, which has already led to the firing of hundreds of trained crisis line operators. Let me tell you what that looks like in real life. A fellow veteran in crisis called the VA crisis line. He got put on hold. Think about that. Someone reaching out for help, probably at the lowest moment of their life, and there's no one there. He ended up posting on Facebook. That's how I saw it. That's how desperate he was. Many of us reached out and never got a response. I think about that man all the time. I don't know if he's alive or dead. But I know this. Maybe if someone had picked up that phone, the story would have ended differently. We've got veterans dying by suicide inside VA facilities. That's how bad the care gap is. And now Trump and Musk want to increase the discrepancy by slashing the very workforce that's supposed to help us. This isn't a theory. It's already happening. Clinics are understaffed. Crisis lines go unanswered. Benefits get delayed. And now we're talking about even less? Yeah. This isn't about being efficient. It's not about budgets. It's about lives. And right now, those lives are being lost while people in power act like cutting corners is a solution.
It's about murder.
Yep.
Congressman Weid might not be here today, but he needs to hear this. We kept our promise. We sacrificed. We served. And now we're asking you to do the bare minimum. Just show up and protect the system that keeps veterans alive, that you promised them.
My name is Darren. If I look at you guys, I'm pretending it's that idiot, okay? All right? I'm an Air Force veteran. I served in the Gulf War. And I just want to say one thing. I got lost coming here. I'm not from De Pere, okay? I got lost. I said, well, if I'm going to get lost, I better just show up and say something. So, the fact of the matter is, I was born in Rochester, New York, on the southwest side, inner city, okay? When I turned 18, I said, you know what, there's got to be more than what I'm seeing. You know, I don't want to stand on the corner and sell drugs or take drugs, all right? In the inner city, this is happening a lot. But what I said, I'm going to go see the world. There's got to be something more than this. I'm going to go see the world. And as an Air Force veteran, I got a chance to travel halfway around the world, which I doubt you have, okay? I've seen what this country is supposed to be like. I've seen countries like Saudi Arabia and Turkey and different things that are totally different than what we have here, or supposed to have here in America. Okay? And then, I'm going to talk about this DEI, okay? They're attacking the military, they're establishing different establishments, okay? DEI isn't just about black and brown folk. It's about handicap, all right? It's about those, underprivileged people, okay?
And the elderly.
Yeah, and the other, and I'm just here to say that when I was in the Air Force, I had to study. They put us in classrooms to learn about the Tuskegee Airmen. They put us in classrooms. This was part of your study. Now all of a sudden you want to take it all away like it never happened. Like it never happened. This is real stuff, okay? And I want to say this has been on my mind. Okay, I was in the service, okay? There's many veterans here, okay? I don't care what letter it is that I get wrong. I don't care if you had a dress on, pink hair, whatever. I knew from training that you had my back. You had my back. In the Air Force, in the service, everybody was trained on the same level. So when you went into battle, you better know, and I'm sure you know, that the person behind you or the person left behind, you better go and get them. Okay? Not wuss out, okay? Because it takes courage to be here.
It does.
It takes real courage to be here, every one of you. So God bless you all, and you'll probably see me again. Okay?
Hi, my name is Chrissy. I live in Green Bay, and I am a constituent of Cut Out Tony. I have it on good authority. He is at home right now. Truck and driveway at his house. I've been a nurse for 20 years, working for a nonprofit. I currently work at Planned Parenthood as a clinic. So I still work nonprofit, and I have major concerns about cuts to Medicaid, which is a large majority of the patients that we see. And I want to know, Tony, what is your red line of what you are going to finally grow a spine and take a stand to? Social Security? You don't seem to care about that. Medicare, you don't care.
No.
Medicaid, deporting legal U.S. citizens, don't care. So, what is it you care about? What is it that you care about aside from your pocketbook?
Tax cuts for
Bingo.
millionaires.
Exactly. So not anything that people in his district really are, we're affected by all of this, and he works for us. Even if we don't vote for him, he still should be working for us. So him not being here is a direct reflection on the lack of true respect to us and to the people of his district.
Yes.
I consider myself a student of history in some aspects. There we go. I'm a little taller. I consider myself a bit of a student of history. 249 years ago, our nation had faced another crisis. There existed an imperfect union with the United Kingdom, which is surprising. The United Kingdom was technically a democracy at that time. They had a parliament, they had people back in the home islands who voted for people, who voted in the representatives. But back in the state, back in the continental America, back where we are, there did not exist that representation. They did not exist that right to vote. And that became a rallying call for 2/3 of Americans. 2/3 of Americans were revolutionaries, they were called. The other third of Americans, they are considered more loyalists. They still held their feelings towards the United Kingdom. Throughout America's history, I've noticed a pattern. Not only this, but in the Civil War, the North, who was trying to stop the abhorrent institution of slavery, fought against the other third of the population. And it's very sad that we have consistently 2/3 of Americans that are trying to do the right thing, that are trying righteously to exist in a more perfect union every single time. Throughout all of these events, out of all these struggles in America, it was a question of a more perfect union. There existed a union in the United Kingdom, a technical democracy that had existed, but we did not settle in that time of crisis for a less perfect union. We settled for a more perfect union, a better one where we had representation.
Yes.
And in the Civil War, they wanted a more perfect union, one where black people had representation.
Yes.
In World War II, there was a push for another, more perfect union, one in which fascism did not take over the world so that no one had a more perfect union. Throughout all our time in history, there has been a righteous two-thirds who's been willing to step up to the plate, who, when their chips are down, cards are out on the table, they want something better. Looking at polls today, Medicare for all, rich paying their fair share, walkable neighborhoods, more housing for people, two-thirds of Americans supported across the board.
Yeah.
So why don't we have those things? Why don't we have these very basic things the majority of Americans support outright? Medicare for all, housing, actual health care. We just want health care. Is that too much to ask? When the chips are down in times of crisis, an increasing amount of teens, the suicide rate continues to go up. Medical debt, college debt, credit card debt continues to go up in America. I guess, Cardboard Tony. Where is that righteous two-thirds policy? Where is that righteous America? Where is a lower teen suicide rate? Where is Medicare for all? Where is housing for everyone? Where is rich people paying their fair share? Where is Tony?
Shorter here. So forgive me, I didn't prepare anything. I'm actually a little nervous in front of people, so this should be interesting. I am angry. I'm angry. I'm angry that I don't see more people my age and younger here. I'm angry that it's not being noticed. I have a 3- and a 5-year-old little girl at home. 2 little girls. I did not want to raise them in an oligarchy.
Right.
And right now, we're looking at a president who does market manipulation to make his little billionaire friends money. This is not okay. And we need to stand up. On top of that, there's Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I'm assuming everybody knows that name. He's not the only one. He is far from it. And they're exploring ways to actually kick out U.S. citizens legally. What are they going to do with all of us?
Concentration camps.
Don't give them any ideas.
And on top of that, my grandfather did not fight Nazi Germany to have it come to the United States in 2025. So I say we all need to stand up. All of us. And we need to talk to everybody. We need to get people who are younger, in their 20s and their 30s, and we need to get moving, because otherwise, we already surpassed the amount of time that it took little mustache man to take over Germany. We already surpassed those days, and it's unbelievable that we are allowing this. And people like Tony Weid, you're one of the people allowing it, and eventually karma's gonna come kick your ass.
My name is Pat. I want to talk to Tony about 2 things. One is an oath. As a veteran, I swore an oath. After I got out of the service, I spent 27 years in federal law enforcement. I swore an oath. That oath was to uphold the Constitution and defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I take that oath seriously. My wife is also a veteran, and she takes that oath very seriously. As a commander of my local Legion post, we also have an oath, or a creed, that says we will combat the autocracy of the classes and the masses and make right the master of might. I'm going to hold you to that one too. That's one part of it. Second part of it is, a few years back I decided to get involved in local politics. I got elected as a little town supervisor. As that town supervisor, Tony, I'm going to tell you something that obviously you don't get. I represent those 1,200 people in the little town of Cicero. I don't work for the chairman. I don't work for the county executive. I don't work for any of them. I represent my constituents. You need total credit. Out of Donald Trump's behind and represent your constituents.
Thank you.
I'll leave it to me to break the microphone. Hello, friends, and Tony. I should say I'm also a veteran. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I served many years ago. But I was in the Marine Corps, and I appreciate all the words that my fellow veterans, Navy, Air Force, Army had to say. But I don't come here tonight to talk about that. I was a school principal for 30 years. And in fact, I'm happy to say that I noticed in the crowd some of the folks that I worked with, some of the folks that I was principal for, Gloria, and people I served on the school board with. I want to talk about your Project 2025 and your plans to shut down the Department of Education. So I said I was a school principal. Yeah, give it to him.
I got an email.
Okay, forgive me for reading from this, but I need to because I don't want to miss anything. I was a school principal for 30 years, and most of the schools I served were high poverty, high mobility schools. And while there's no denying that sometimes our standardized scores were below average, this was at a time when no consideration was given to the amount of learning gained during a school year. We call that value added. Regularly, when we studied the amount of gain our students made, it was as high or often higher than that of district averages. Isn't that right, Myrna? Where'd you go? There you are. Sorry. One of the authors of the Project of 2025 used a lot of phrasing that at first glance people might find agreement with. You know, how could anyone be opposed to such ideas as, and these are quotes from their screed, education freedom, local control, safeguarding civil rights, reducing red tape, and of course choice. Well, as someone once said, the devil is in the details, Tony. Three of the ideas in this particular section of Project 2025 I found especially troubling were effectively eliminating Title I, rescinding IDA regulations, and advocating federal oversight of the latter by issuing no-string block grants. How hard is it to imagine that should the proponents of Project 2025 come into political power even more than they are right now, we could see the eventual repeal of Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. Hopefully you know what that refers to. If you don't, look it up. It's very important. Impossible, you say? Yeah, it stood for 70 years with many challenges, both de jure and de facto. And with enough pushing from certain quarters along the way, the no-strings-attached block grants could make it go the way of Roe versus Wade. Let's protect education. Come and talk to the people here who are hurting, who want to see things the way they should be. Thanks for the opportunity.
Go Red Devils.
All right. Hello, Congressman Weid. In February, I wrote to your office with my concerns about the conflict of interest Elon Musk represents in his role of eliminating government waste and fraud. On February 27th, your office responded with what I would consider a form letter, bragging up Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency,
You didn't address any of my concerns, which leads me to believe that you and your staff don't actually read the letters your constituents take the time to write to you. I would like to take this opportunity to remind you that you're not working for Donald Trump, you work for us. Your constituents, even the ones who didn't vote for you. And I feel that at the very least you can do is listen to us. The SAVE Act passed, unfortunately, as did the No Rogues Ruling Act. I wrote and called about both of those bills and never heard anything back. I also called you to hold the Trump officials accountable for mishandling classified information. I also shared with you my experience as an Air Force ComSec accountant at Kelly Air Force Base, so I know how classified information should be handled. Now, I'd like to urge you to save the Institute of Museum and Library Services. On March 14th, eliminating that office. On March 31st, DOJ put the entire staff, around 70 people, on leave. Anyone who goes to libraries and museums knows that they are extremely frugal with the funds that they receive, and that they are extremely important resources in every community in the United States of America. These institutions need to be funded and protected, not dismantled. I'm inviting you to tour the Black Creek Village Library, where I used to work, the Shiocton Public Library, the Bondwell Public Library, the Shawnee Public Library, the New London Public Library, the Mule Public Library in Seymour. The list goes on and on. Go during story time. Go during after-school programming, go anytime, and see the lives that would be detrimentally affected by the federal government not funding them. Thank you for your time.
I'm an introvert, so I'm kind of having a panic attack. There's so much just rampant corruption and abuse of power in this administration. It's not a 5-alarm fire, it's a 500,000 alarm fire. But the topic on the top of my list right now is this mismanagement of tariff policy. And I want to know, why are you and your fellow Republicans handing over all your congressional powers to a corrupt and incompetent president? You're giving him singular control over policies, especially this tariff control, which is just devastating our country. And he obviously has no clue what he's doing. He's economically illiterate and single-handedly destroying the American and global economy. You are complicit with his failure and abuse of America. Do your damn job and pass veto-proof legislation to Congress to retake control of its powers that are set forth in the Constitution. You're passively allowing one man to seize all the power to control the country, which is the definition of a dictatorship, not a democracy. Stop being negligent to your elected role and your oath to the Constitution, and restore the checks and balances to this corrupt president's abuse of power and his unjustified use of emergency powers.
Congressman Weid, you're going to be a one-term congressman. We do not want Social Security privatized, or Medicare, or veterans benefits, or the post office. We don't want IRS, anything privatized, because it doesn't work for us. It only works for the rich, and we're kind of tired of the rich telling us what to do and where to go. So it's time you stand up for us. The government is not a freaking business, it's a civil service.
Hi, I don't have anything prepared either. My name's Cassandra. I actually drove here from New London.
Welcome.
And I had lots of problems. I'm obviously in the younger generation here, and I have young children, one of which is in special education. He receives speech therapy through our local school district. If the Department of Education is eliminated, that directly puts my son's services at risk. That is not acceptable. We should not allow that. Also, those of you who may know that New London has a Tyson plant, and due to a recent decision by our lovely leader, they tried to terminate the visas that many of the immigrant population that we have, they would have to leave by April 24th. And I was so proud that our little town of New London organized, we had a little rally on Wednesday morning, and we are so grateful that there is a circuit court judge, forgive me, I don't know which circuit, but that put a stay on that, so they can stay, and they can be in our community. And if Tony Weid, you, sir, that are not here, that's down the road completely ignoring your constituents,
Wow.
if you can't see the value in those people that live in our community and that contribute to the economy, that are contributing to different services through their paychecks and the taxes that come out of their paychecks, they want the American dream, they want to be here, they do not want to live in gang-infested countries. They want to be here. They want to be among all of us. They want to contribute. They have broken no laws. They are here legally, and they deserve to be here because they did it the right way. Thank you.
I'm Tracy Mangold, and I'm a former Republican. I was 8th District Secretary for close to 10 years. I was 8th District Secretary. I've been involved with the party for about 30 years. Lifelong Republican. I resigned in July of last year because things were becoming untenable. And there was other reasons. I thought I could stay in and affect change from the inside, but that is not the case. So I'm here today to talk to our congressman who bought his seat by paying for an endorsement from Donald Trump. That's the only reason, let's be honest, that's the only reason that he won that election. So today, I don't know if you saw, there was an alert that the Social Security Administration is only going to post information like press releases and alerts on Social Security on Twitter, otherwise known as X. This is not good. Older people, handicapable people, those living rurally, and others with limited internet, as we all know, especially up in the northern areas, in the farmlands and whatnot, the internet sucks, let's be honest. So what are they supposed to do? My mom is 88 years old. She is not going to make a Twitter account just to get on to Social Security information, which is rightfully our information. That is your money, that is my money, that is our money that we worked hard for. And we should not have to jump through hoops in order to get that information. So I'm asking you, what are you going to do about this?
Steal it.
We demand that you do your job and listen to us. We are the ones that you work for. Not Trump, not Washington, us.
Not Musk.
And not Musk, for sure.
Not the billionaires.
So do your job and start listening to us and putting a stop to this bullcrap that they're trying to push through and trying to push us down. Because we will not stand for it, and you will find out at the next election. You are one thing out. And just like with Susan Crawford, we can't be bought. So you might have been bought by Trump, but we can't be. So 2 years, watch out, because
because you're going to be going back and you'll be staying home and you won't have to worry about going out anymore. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone who put this on, and I agree with everything that's been said already. Cardboard Congressman Weid. Perhaps you recognize my voice. I was the gal who did a call to you at the Hands Off rally on Saturday. That was not a stunt. It was a way to show people how we can call our congresspeople. I had never done it until I saw someone else do it. So it was genuine, because I know that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. So I'm here with an invitation. Not tomorrow, but next Saturday, we're going to have another rally in Green Bay. I want to invite you to come, but to be clear, not to speak. One thing that surprised me was the depth of feeling of the people who attended the rally. They were all very well informed. They were not afraid. They were not shell-shocked. They were not dismayed. They were so angry. And I don't think that you can feel that from our calls or our emails. We are so angry. So I invite you, come to Green Bay, just wear a hoodie, and sit in the back. And maybe you can feel the palpable rage of the people of Green Bay. I saw a sign this week. It said, "What would Wisconsin do?" Wisconsin is going to show up, and I invite you to come.
I guess I was a little late coming here, so I don't know what was said before I got here.
Say it again.
But I guess the bottom line for me has been from day one of the Trump administration with the firing of 18 inspector generals.
Yes.
It was the privatizing the executive branch with Elon Musk. It was the violation of our Constitution, and that there are no Republicans, including Mr. Weid, that can't reach across the aisle and impeach this president. He has more than qualified himself for high crimes and misdemeanors. I think Elon Musk should be indicted.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
He has forced himself into our government agencies. He has stolen our personal information. And nobody in the Republican Party is doing anything about this. And the only time I've seen him get exercised is when the tariff grift is threatening their bottom line. This is so disgusting. And for Mr. Weid, I wish that if he's not going to do his job, and clearly he's not, clearly he violated his oath to the Constitution.
Every day since January 20th.
So, if he's not going to honor his oath, he certainly isn't honoring us by representing us. So I wish he would resign like Congressman Gallagher did. And leave us honor their oath to the Constitution.
Resign or be recalled.
Hi, my name's Kathy. I think we should give a round of applause for Cory Booker.
You can just keep it out.
Keep it on, yeah. I gotta put the glasses on, or I'll be able to read the room. I guess I'm just curious, Trump and other Republicans, talk about using common sense. I heard that a lot. It's common sense.
Where is it?
Yeah, exactly. I would just like to know if hurting people and taking them to a horrible prison and grabbing students off the street without due process is common sense. If refusing to bring home at least one man that he knows shouldn't be in El Salvador is using common sense. If cutting off phone lines for seniors to contact the Social Security office is common sense, and then shutting down the offices besides. If putting tariffs on countries that are causing us pain in our pockets is common sense. Is hurting all the employees of various agencies, like the VA, of our government, by firing them using common sense and doing it without due process? Is going golfing costing the American people money when he should be in Washington supposedly using his common sense? Is listening to all the lies by Republicans and his puppet cabinet common sense? Is cutting USAID funds to schools, dissolving the education department, and eliminating media that he doesn't like, and investigating people that have done their jobs, following in the judiciary branch, common sense? Is not listening to all the constituents rallying, protesting, having town hall common sense? Is not having allies backing each other common sense? Are not all the Republicans watching all this not using their common sense? They have none. They are okay with what's going on.
He is.
I don't get it. No one has to tell me you're listening to the wrong media or you're listening to the wrong station. All you gotta do is see the man up there. I mean, watch him, listen to him. Nobody has to tell me anything. I can use my own common sense and know what he's like. I kind of don't like the man. I'm sorry. Is Tony Weid going to finally stand straight, listen to his constituents, and say, this is enough? Talk to his fellow Republicans and just do it. Is it common sense for one man, Trump, to say he could shoot someone in the middle of the street and not get caught? How can one person get away with so much? Do Republicans really want our country to become like Russia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that common sense?
No.
I'm using my common sense to see that this man and his puppets are stabbing our country in the back.
They're killing us.
Yes. And the other thing I have to say is, I know there's a lot of other gray-haired people in the audience here. If you didn't get your Social Security check, would you be considered fraudulent because you called and wondered where it was? I don't know how many saw that on TV. Yeah, that his mother, Ludick, right? Luddick, when he said, yeah, that his mother, who was 99, would not call. She just waits for another month to go by and everything would be fine. It's only the fraudulent people that would call. How many are frauds? So anyway, I hope, Tony, maybe you get some common sense. Thank you.
I am so honored by all of your stories and your sentiments, and I just can't even believe some of the stories that we're hearing today. Everyone who's in line, I want to encourage you to continue to stay in line. We want to hear you. but we're getting close to time. If anybody has a burning comment that they want to share and they need to share, please feel free to jump in line. Otherwise, we've got our videographer here who's going to be able to do some candids with us, and we've got our notes, and of course there's the virtual town hall that's always available. Come on.
Hello, Congressman Weid. My name is Lynn, and I actually wasn't going to speak tonight, so pardon me, I'm going to recycle a little bit from the speech that I gave this last Saturday at the Hands Off rally. And one part in particular, because I think it's really powerful. So I'm the parent of a young man with developmental disabilities. He will be disabled for the rest of his life. I'm here to talk about Medicaid. And I am here specifically to ask Tony Weid why he is not fighting tooth and nail against the potential $880 billion in federal Medicaid cuts that are currently being considered in Congress. So if these cuts go through, the impact on Wisconsin is going to be devastating. 1.2 million Wisconsinites are enrolled in the Medicaid program. It keeps them healthy, it keeps them connected to their communities, and in many cases, in the case of my son, it keeps them out of institutions. So Medicaid touches pretty much everybody in our state. 9 in 10 Americans are going to be touched by Medicaid in their lifetime. In Wisconsin, it covers 1 in 3 children, 8 in 10 children in poverty, 1 in 3 adults with disabilities, and 4 in 7 nursing home residents. So this is the part that I'm going to recycle from last weekend because it was really powerful, and if you weren't there, I think we would all benefit from seeing it. So I am going to ask you, I'm going to turn here, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if any of these statements apply to you. So do you have a child, an infant or a toddler, who got services through birth to 3? Anybody in the crowd? Okay. That is a Medicaid service. Do you have a student or know a student who got school-based therapies like OT, PT, or speech? Okay, that's Medicaid. Do you know seniors who get Meals on Wheels? Yeah, keep your hands up. Sorry, yes, I always forget that part. Keep your hands up. Do you know seniors who go to the ADRC, get Meals on Wheels or any of their other services? Okay, that's Medicaid. Have any of you, and I know this is very personal, but have any of you gotten mental health services through Medicaid? Medicaid is the single most common way that people in Wisconsin get mental health services. Do you have a Nana or a Pop-Pop who is in a nursing home whose money has run out and they are still getting good care? That is Medicaid. So if you look around the room, this is the face of Medicaid. You are a fraction of the 1.2 million people in this state who depend on Medicaid. So it just feels to me like this is something that people don't necessarily understand. Oh, one of the things I forgot is Badger Care. Does anybody here use Badger Care? Also Medicaid. So I feel like people really don't understand the tentacles of Medicaid in our community. And one more thing that I would like to talk about just very quickly is the economic impact of Medicaid, right? So $11 billion in federal Medicaid funding comes into our state. And that is $1.6 billion in Tony Weid's district alone. That is 4,300 businesses in the 8th Congressional District, and it's 30,000 businesses across the state. So it doesn't just fund healthcare and all the things that we talked about here, it flows into every part of our economy. Slashing Medicaid funds will have an enormous and negative impact on the people and the economy of our state. So I'm going to say 2 final things. Medicaid saves lives, plain and simple.
Yes!
It lets people live with dignity, it lets them stay in their homes, whether they're disabled or elderly, and it lets them be part of their communities. And personally, I think we all benefit from having those people in our communities. I believe Medicaid reflect what I would call Wisconsin values. And second, and I shouldn't have to say this, but Medicaid shouldn't be a partisan issue. When you're talking 9 out of 10 Wisconsinites, Americans being touched by Medicaid at some point in their lives, regardless of their political party, this is an issue that Tony Weid should care about. And he should be, every chance he gets, on the floor of Congress talking about the fact that the people in his district need Medicaid. They depend on Medicaid. Our economy depends on Medicaid. And he should be fighting this tooth and nail. So my question to cut out Tony is, why aren't you? And when are you going to start? Thank you.
I just want to add something to that on behalf of Tony Weid. I don't know if you read the Weid Wire today that came out. No, I don't need it. I can paraphrase enough. Because he wants to assure us all that everything you're hearing about the $880 billion is false. So he says it's not true, and he is absolutely not cutting Medicaid. So it's in the Weid Wire. He's basically promising, would we say? So just wanted to add that to Lynn. Let's hold him to it.
It's the only way they can get tax cuts for the wealthy.
Hi, my name is Mimi Gerner. I'm kind of a cohort with Lynn through our Medicaid connection. And I wanted to share tonight about our experience with his office and visiting his office and staffers in his office. Since you took office, I have been in contact. As many people know here, the lack of contact is not just my experience. And I wanted to put on record the lack of respect shown to me, as well as other advocates who have visited your office, on behalf of yourself, since you haven't made yourself available to us. In early February, I came into your office with my youngest child, who's 9, just out running errands, and I thought I would stop by to express my concern, which I had learned about that morning over Elon Musk taking over the Treasury Department. This was early days. From one of your staffers, I was told that there was nothing to be concerned about. All of my data would be safe. I had nothing to be worried about. I can just go on with my life. When I then expressed another concern about how disappointed I was in all the rolling back of DEI initiatives, as I myself, being female, am part of the benefits of this, as is my son, who is autistic, and how deeply he has benefited from being included in many ways and places in life. I will add that my voice may have raised a little bit, and at that point another staffer came out to tell me that we can't expect you to change your mind on a whim, and that I need to turn off MSNBC and get on with my life. And I have it recorded with the voice recorded, because I had a feeling that this might be the response I got. The next time I was in your office was with Lynn and another group of advocates who were gathered to tell you about Medicaid and how important it was to our lives to offer you our knowledge and ourselves as resources. And Lynn was so gracious to say, we know you're new, we know that this is a lot to take on, and we would love to offer ourselves and our knowledge to you, because it is such a burden. You did not take us up on that. In fact, during your visit, your staffers tried to hurry us along with our stories. They didn't even invite us into your office space. We were left out in the lobby. And they half-heartedly listened to us as they went in and out of your office. We left you with many written stories. We never got a response. However, you did respond to that visit by talking to media and saying how we showed up unannounced, which was a complete lie. We gave you plenty of opportunities to meet with us face-to-face, and we announced when we would be there. We asked if a different day or time would be better. We even said there may be media present, and we would like to make it as convenient to you as possible. We never got a response to that. You also responded how it was your priority to keep your staff safe, insinuating that we were a threat to your staff. So this is untrue, it's hurtful, and we deserve better. That's all I have for tonight.
Hello, Mr. Dino Stop. Sorry, you may not know about that. He has a gas station chain called Dino Stop. I know, it's unfortunate. I love the dinosaur, but... Anyway.
We gotta make him a dinosaur.
Yeah. My name's Ethan Welch. I've been a volunteer for the Brown County Democrats since 2023 in the summer. I've also been a canvasser for Power of the Polls and for Red's Buddy. I've knocked on all the doors. I've got some doors slammed in my face, and I've gotten some threats before. But one of the most heartening things that I come across when I do that kind of thing is like when I meet someone who has a different opinion than me, voting presumably Republican, and like they ask me, "Hey, do you need like a bottle of water? Would you like to come inside?" That kind of thing. And these people don't deserve you, Tony Weid. So one of the bills that you authored while you were like newly elected to Congress was called the Spears Act. And the thing that does is it allows us to overfish sturgeon. And I don't think that's why the people of Wisconsin elected you. I don't think they elected you because they wanted to overfish in Wisconsin. I think they elected you because they were hurting from inflation from COVID-19. I think they elected you because like the people were hurting and they wanted a change. Indeed, but you are more of the same, and I would love to see you do something for the people of Wisconsin. But you haven't been present at all. You haven't gone to any public town halls. I was on a phone town hall with you, which is an embarrassment.
It was.
It was absolutely horrendous. I was at a protest, a couple protests, where you were at a private event where you had to be vetted to go into the event. One with Brad Schimmel and that's not what a town hall is. I just hope you know that.
He doesn't have the brains.
Yeah. You need to show your face, and people will be mad at you, but that's what being an elected official is all about. You don't just get to talk to people you like, you have to talk to the people. All right, thank you.
I'll make this brief because I was here before, but we know, Tony, what finger you're really giving us. And you won't show up for town halls, but I'm wondering if you're going to show up for parades, because if you do, I'm bringing my rotten tomatoes.
You're the closer. I'm the closer.
Hi, Tony, it's Granny. You and I need to have a talk. I raised you to be a good boy. And I know when you were growing up, you heard about the Holy Trinity. I want to talk to you today about the unholy Trinity. Number one, the right-wing media that spreads lies, disinformation, and misinformation. Number two, the push toward Christian nationalism. And number three, big money in our government, not just politics, our government. Tony, I'm very disappointed in you. I raised you to be better than this. You are part of this system and you're supporting it. You know he's an evil man, Tony. You know he is degrading the moral fiber of our society with his leadership.
Yes.
So, first advice from Granny, Tony, don't lie. Don't pass on the lies. Don't pass on the misinformation and the disinformation. Fight truth decay. No more lies or democracy dies. Now, for Christian nationalism, there's a good reason the Founding Fathers believed in a wall of separation between church and state. We don't respect nations that are theocracies, Tony. Things don't go well there. We live in a diverse country that has always prided itself on freedom of religion. When did the Republican Party and the right wing get this idea that equal rights for all meant that somehow rights were being violated? You want a Christian nation? Let's follow Jesus. Love one another. Care for the widow and the orphan. Feed the hungry. Care for the poor. Be good. Religion and secular power, especially political power, are not meant to be together. The greatest among you shall be servant of all. And for that last one, big money in our government, you want to be a hero? You want to be a big man? You want to do good for all of your constituents? Which is another thing. When did only the people who voted for you become your constituents? Here's what I want you to do. Public funding for elections. Every candidate gets the same amount of money. It is illegal to say anything about your opponent, good or bad. You must only speak about your own position. Advertising and campaigning for the election is only 6 weeks leading up to Election Day. Election Day is a paid holiday. If you did those things, Tony, you'd make Granny proud, and I might put you back in my will.
I want to talk a little bit about what representation looks like. Whatever you think of Reed Ribble, I have a story for you. We had a dinner called the Lincoln Dinner, and it was our annual fundraising dinner, and Reed and I would meet about every other week. We would have lunch and talk about what's going on and all of that. And he said, I want to speak at the Lincoln Dinner. I said, sure. And this was a time where the Tea Party was pissed off about something the Tea Party was pissed off about. But we shut the doors in the room, and it was at the Rock Garden. There was, 500 people there. And he said, what I'm going to say is really going to piss these people off. Watch this. Well, he took out his Member of Congress card. And so you get like this little card that gets you into anywhere. And he said, I've been taking a lot of phone calls from a lot of people. This card does not mean I represent Republicans in the 8th Congressional District. He said, this card means I represent everybody in the 8th Congressional District. And the room was as silent as this one is. Because representation matters. And that is what we're lacking. And I also want to thank people that spoke, and I admire the courage of people that came up and said, I'm nervous. You know? What an amazing thing. But I also think that we are the ground force for the resistance of the next election cycle. And what that means is, guys, there's a lot of people out there who were like me 10 years ago. So it's up to all of us. We talk about being welcoming. We talk about bringing people in. When I was chairman, I said, hey, we're the party of the Big Ten. Bullshit, they're not anymore, I'll tell you that. We have to be that. And that is how we can get over the next hurdle in 2 years. It is up to all of us to be welcoming to everyone who wants to come into our little, resistance here. Because that's how this wave will kick his ass out of office in 2 years, right? One thing coming. So if I would have an ask of all of you, it is open your hearts to people who want to come in. Because there's a lot of people out there that would be in here with us if we just let them. Thank you.
Before we go for the evening, I want to put on my immigration hat for a minute, because I know this is an issue that resonates with all of us, and if Tony were here, I would have many, many, many questions for him. I want to do just a really quick audience participation thing. How many of you, when you voted for Tony, you thought border security and getting violent criminals out of our country was a good idea?
I didn't vote for Tony.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. Okay, let me rephrase. Sorry. Okay, how many of you would agree with the general idea that border security and getting violent criminals out of our country is a good idea? Let's put it that way. Okay. Now, how many of you wanted people here legally to be turned into criminals and deported to third countries? Okay, so all I want to know from Tony, if he ever decides to join us, is where his line is on who is illegal in this country and who isn't, because they have there's a talking point that all of these illegals, which is a weird term to begin with, but they're generally referring, and I will not get into all of the nuances or we'd be here all night, but there's a general, like most of these people that they're targeting right now are here lawfully. And whether that means they walked up to the front door of the United States, knocked on the door and said, I want to seek asylum, I have some humanitarian reason for being here. Our Border Patrol answered the door and said, okay, you're clear to come in, here's the process. So they started a legal process and came in. And now we're saying they entered our country illegally. And that is not the people we are worried about. And I mean, I think we all agree violent criminals who are here illegally should be removed from the country with due process. And I hope if everyone didn't know what that was before, you're learning it very quickly.
Julie,
could you comment on the significance of having migrants and immigrants in our labor force and the importance of this to our economy?
Yes. So the question was about having migrants and immigrants in our labor force and the significance of it, and it's very important. Like they take key jobs. We're at like our lowest unemployment rate still, right? Am I still correct about that? Okay, so they're filling jobs that people they don't have to. Like you go to New London, for example. Tyson is an example. It's a rural community, right? Like you don't have an unending amount of people who are just dying to move to some of these rural communities. So, I mean, they should. They're great places, but that's just a fact of life, right? So these people are looking for work, and they are there to fill. They're here lawfully. They have a work authorization, and they're doing these jobs. They're becoming key fabric in these communities. Like we're talking about 100 families in New London that were told a week or two ago that April 24th, you have no job and you need to leave the country. And thankfully, because of a judge today, they now have some reprieve from that. And I know there are other companies in Green Bay I believe JBS is one of them that has a similar issue. And they, from my understanding, is they cannot afford to lose the workforce. So this is a big deal. These are families who go to school. I mean, you're talking about, what did the teacher, there was a teacher in New London, she said there was enough.
At least one full classroom.
Yeah, it was like one full classroom of students, meaning they would lose a full-time teacher in their school district because of this. So these are your friends and your neighbors, and it's being told to us from some abstract, but this is really like, there are students getting their visas revoked right now at UW-Madison and all the UW for no reason. Like I don't even begin to understand why they're targeting these students. But just the one thing I'm going to leave you with to wrap this up is they need to hear from us as their community. They can't, they're afraid. They're not going to go stand in the streets and fight. Like they're not going to go rally. I will say the New London rally they held for their neighbors on Wednesday morning did get some really great media attention, which is awesome because that stuff needs to be talked about. Yes. Like you all need to be aware that this is happening, and that might be the only way to get a spotlight on it. But we also need to make our neighbors feel like they're wanted here, that they're part of our community, that we are here to support them. And it's a hard issue because I know a lot of people who are outside of this are like, what can I possibly do? And we are working on some things, hopefully, to get out to the public in the near term of things you can do. Tracy?
Well, and too, in Elizabeth, Michigan, the mother and her kids, they protested, the town came together and protested, and they got it back.
Was that Rochester? Is that what you're,
So,
yeah.
And so it works, it is working, and so we gotta keep the heat on, we gotta keep doing this to support our friends.
Yeah.
It does work.
Yeah, so I'll just leave you with that. Oh, go ahead, Judy.
Well, I just wanted to say that it's dairy farming, it's cherry picking, it's apple picking, it's all over the state.
Yeah.
It's not just
Construction, dairy farming,
everywhere.
landscaping. Yeah.
And so when you take all of these good workers, farmers all over the state are going to be.
Yeah, and there's not a solution that I've heard from Tony Weid of who is going to take those jobs. So also, question I'd like to have an answer to.
You had said, you were talking about revoking visas at UW-Madison, not knowing why. I'll tell you, I participated in several ICE roundups, and yeah, they have targeted individuals, criminals they're after. But you know what? They're not the only people. They'll go after the low-hanging fruit. Yeah. And when you have Donald Trump setting a 1,600 people a day, a quota, that low-hanging fruit is those dairy farms. It's that meatpacking plant. It's Tyson Foods, and they are going to hit them sooner or later.
And essentially what they're doing is revoking their lawful status and making them deportable and thus calling them criminals, and then they have a reason to round them up. Just so you understand the way this is going. And they're doing this with students. This has been the last week of my life. Is like thousands of students across the country have just suddenly had their student status revoked. So they're just here trying to go to school, and some of it's because they had a speeding ticket when they were 19, like 10 years ago. And how many of us has not driven 5 miles over the speed limit?
They pay like double tuition.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're losing their social security numbers as of today.
Country to sit and talk about immigration.
Yeah.
And we're fine to sit up in Washington and talk about how bad illegal aliens, as we call it, are, while we're all sitting here on stolen land. Yes.
All right, I'll wrap up my remarks, but I'll take one more question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, are we seeing any signs that any of these people that ICE are rounding up are being diverted into corrections labor?
It's hard to say. Like they're being detained at private detention facilities, or some that we know have been shipped off to El Salvador, which illegally. So there's a lot of non-information out there, and there's like I will say this. Like I know there's a lot in the media right now about lawyers capitulating to Donald Trump and big law. Immigration attorneys are some of the most badass people I've ever worked with. They will not. They will not. So just know that. But we'll hopefully have some more to put out to you about how you can help these communities. It's just a really tough problem for the outside, I think.
And we pay for all of this. We're paying for all of these.
Yeah, and we're paying for all of this, and it's not cheap.
And when that low-hanging fruit is gone, who's going to be the next low-hanging fruit?
Yeah. You and I.
I think the overriding thing that we've all heard here tonight is that we need to stick together and help each other and be courageous for each other and keep telling our stories. If you didn't get a chance to tell your story here today, you can do that now. You can share it on TonyWeidsRecord.com. You can write your story down out here. Heck, you can talk to any one of us. We're happy to listen. Some of us have podcasts.
What time is your podcast?
Mine's at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Oh, 2 o'clock tomorrow, 3 o'clock tomorrow on the Civic Media Radio Network. 97.9 WGBW, WISS in Appleton and Oshkosh. That's a shameless plug that you invited, Carl, and I was not intending to do that. I cannot tell you how grateful all of us are that you all chose to spend your evening with us. And if I could just ask one more thing, could we take a selfie? Could we? Can you come, if you can, come to the middle, and we'll be up here and we'll get a selfie all together. So we don't have like this big empty column in the middle. So come and fill in the middle.
Okay, we got this. I think it'll be okay. Okay, I've got the arm. You have the middle. Okay, oh, what's it?